All right. Welcome back, everybody. This is Eric here with Guitarsenal. I was just playing around a little bit there with some Little Wang. It ain't Little Wang, it's Little Wang. W-A-N-G, Wang. If you're a redneck, you play it like a redneck, it's Wang. Thanks for tuning in. Doing just a quick little walkthrough here on a 1967 Super Reverb. And boy, she sounds glorious. I just thought it'd be a fun way to demo this amp. And there's some things that people, I believe, kind of really need to know about some of the Supers. They're a great amp. Playing the Super Reverb is a treasure in of itself. It's a wonderful amplifier. So this is intended to be an amplifier demo, just to kind of show off a vintage piece. This is a drip edge. So one of the things on a drip edge that you're going to see is the aluminum molding that's basically on the inside of the grill cloth. So being a drip edge, it's an early silver face amp. You know, as you know, Fender was sold in '67. So post-'67 amps have silver face cosmetics. It's what we call a post-CVS or CVS buyout Fender. But the first couple of years of production on a lot of silver face amps, not just Super Reverbs, they also used a lot of the old blackface guts that were still laying around in parts supply. So it's not uncommon to find the AB 762 or 763, I forget which circuit that is, but the earlier blackface circuit in some of these old Fender amps, especially early silver faces. Without nerding out on you guys, there's some things that you can tell, pretty much separate the early Super Reverbs from some of the later silver face. One is the early ones have a much more simple tone stack in terms of the controls, okay? Later ones had a push-pull master volume and all this other type of stuff. In my opinions, not nearly as good of an amp as the original ones, okay? Early Super Reverbs that are silver face say Super Reverb amp. Later, it just says Super Reverb. So if you see the word amp, it means it's probably going to be an early silver face Super Reverb. Also, the little tail on the logo, that's something that they also did away with in later versions of not only Super Reverbs, but the silver face Fenders in general, that did away with the little hook under the Fender logo. So if you've got that little tail underneath the Fender logo, that's good news. That's definitely an early one. So always look for the drip edge on the outer corner, the tail under the logo, as well as Super Reverb amp. And you can run the chassis numbers and they'll fall into some, you can usually date them within a couple of years without having to look at the tube chart. A lot of times the tube chart will have the circuit that is in the amplifier, okay? In my case, the tube chart is no longer intact, so I have to go off of the chassis. So anyway, this is just meant to be kind of a cool look at this amplifier. It is a glorious sounding amp. I did have maybe just a splash of delay going, but for the most part, that's naked Super Reverb going there in the intro for a little bit of Little Wing. Hopefully I didn't butcher too bad, but I love playing that way. Through this amp, you really just have to just dig in and really, with single coils, these amps will really have some nice sort of spunk to them that it's just great. It's such a neat amp to play. Now, there are some setbacks for these amps, in my opinion, and this is just kind of, I've dealt with a lot of them over the years. I haven't owned one until recently, but I have played through quite a few of them, and my dad's had a few of them over the years. The Super Reverb uses 4 10-inch Jensen speakers, so it's a 410 amp. Okay, all right, pros and cons. Cons, it's heavy to move around. 2, it's a very focused sound. Because it's such a big open back cabinet, you get a lot of bass response, and you get a lot of fat bass. I mean, you can really, like, especially with those 4 10-inch speakers, you can just you get that really fat kind of punchy bass. I kind of over exerted it there, but just to show you. The bass is very focused and punchy. There's not a lot of mids in the Super Reverb. And where a lot of people go wrong is they tend to crank them louder thinking that, oh, they're going to get more mids out of the amp by cranking it. They're kind of lacking in the mid department. So it's a scoop mid frequency range. You get nice, pretty, sparkly highs. You get a lot of bass response, and you get a really focused sound that, unfortunately, because the cabinet design doesn't really spread out on the stage. If you're going to play one of these live, they do have tilt back legs on them, and a lot of players tended to want to tilt them back just so they could hear a little bit better when they're on stage in a mix. They do mic well on stage, so if you're ever going to mic them, they do great in a live setting. And the overhead, it's a 45-watt amplifier, all tube. With the overhead that you have in the Super Reverb, it's a great platform for getting a nice clean sound. Right now, the amp's on 4, and 4 is really where they start to sing. Okay, under it you can get a little bit of compression, but they start to break up when you get them around 4. I think 4 or 5 is where a Super Reverb about sounds the best, in my opinion. You can crank them a little bit more, but you'll just get a little bit more crunch and compression, and you won't really get quite so much louder. It just gets more distorted. So I feel like the Super Reverb sounds the best about halfway up, and then get your EQ stack about where you want. And man, this amp's a sleeper, guys. I'm telling you. All right, let's add some effects. So I've got my Noble's Overdrive set up to just barely kiss the front end of the amp. So I've already got the amp on about 4, right where it's starting to break up with single coil pickups. Now obviously if you plugged a humbucker into it, it'd probably distort a little more because higher output from the instrument. But so here's clean sound. All right, here's a touch of drive. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. Okay, so getting on the bridge pickup, I feel like these amps really sound the best with Strats and Tellies, and kind of hard to beat the sound of a Super with some crunch going into the front of it. This is actually just a little Mexican Strat that's been highly messed with, but yeah, what a killer amplifier. That's a little touch of drive. Let's add in maybe just a splash of ambient sounding delay, and man, yeah. Good stuff, good stuff. Let's see. you guys get the point there. It kind of does some really glorious things. You start pushing the front end, playing around with it a little bit. Glorious, glorious amplifier. Just wanted to kind of, you know, show off some of the sounds, and really, this is a great amp that you can just really plug into, set it, and sort of go. You know, it's really warm. It can be set up to be a very warm sounding amp depending on the type of sound you want. I've got it kind of dialed in to be a little more spanky. That's probably a little bit more my style of playing guitars, especially Strats and Tellys. I like kind of a little bit more pop in there, but you can certainly warm them up a good bit. You know, just even on the neck pickup, just. Such a responsive amplifier. You know, you can really just get into some silly territory depending on how you play. It responds well to your dynamics, which, as sloppy as that is, I was very sloppy in my playing there, but you can really, it really responds back to you and gives you a bit of, you know, second order harmonics going on in there, and sort of gives you a bit back that you put into the front end of the amp. And in my opinion is a unique characteristic to Fender amps. Whether it's Supers or whether it's Deluxes, Princetons, you name it, they tend to do quite well in terms of really pushing the front end of the amp by responding to your picking dynamics and what you do on the guitar. So guys, hopefully you enjoyed this quick demo. We were just kind of toying around. I hope you see the fun in this. We're not trying to prove anything or whatever. We're just trying to have fun. So guys, thank you so much for tuning in. We post every Monday and Friday. Make sure that you click that notification bell and tune in for the videos. And what a lot of fun. We'll probably be using this Super a little bit more for some of the demos and things, and maybe using it as just an effects thing, you know, to help demo effects with this amplifier. But killer amp. Hopefully I can do her justice. I love it. It's a slick setup. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video and enjoyed the sounds that we got out of it. And have yourself a great day, and we'll see you next time. All right. it.